Hi guys, welcome back to Building a Basic Website from Scratch. My name is Carlos Cucalon, and we're going to continue building our site. As our last video, we created multiple styles that were added to our template, as well as our navigation and other styles that were added to the site. Right now, we're going to focus a little more on the footer of our site and actually create a footer that will be usable and that would have certain elements that most footers should contain. So let's go ahead and start building this. Let's move into Visual Studio Code. As always, if you need information, you can always see details on some of the things that I talk about during this video in the description below in YouTube. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. So we have our HTML, we have created the body tag with the header, which we worked on last time, our main tag, which we worked on before, that contains all of our different styles for our typography, and then we have our footer. So for our footer, we need to include certain elements. There are things that are important to have in the footer of a site. I will have a link below for a video talking about what you should include in certain elements and what are some of the borrowed elements that we take from certain different other types of medium, like for example newspapers, magazine, and whatnot. So I'll have some descriptions. I'll have the links to those videos on the description below if you want to take a look at those. So let's go ahead and start working on this. So for our footer, this should be a very simple video where we're actually going to use the grid system that we created before. So if we go to our styles, you can see that we have all of our styles. And then when you scroll down, we have our grid system starting with a container. If you look at this section right here, the one thing that we're going to focus on is going to use the container fluid. Since we have our navigation, and our navigation scrolls spans from left to right, we want to kind of follow the same idea for our footer. So we're going to use the same thing, and we're going to create it using the container fluid. So let's go ahead and create this template. Let's go ahead and do div with a class of container fluid. And inside of our div with our class of container or container fluid, we also include our row. So a div class row. And then go ahead and break this down into 3 different sections. So div class call, and let's go ahead and do MD6. This is going to have some information about the site. Then on the other one, let's go ahead and do maybe div class call MD3. And here we're going to have maybe the duplicate navigation. And then down here, we're going to have a div class call M3. And then down here, we're going to have something, for example, like the contact information, right? All right. So if we save this right here, then we go to the site and refresh it. And now we have some information here. So now let's go ahead and think about what kind of content we want to put. So let's go ahead and think maybe we'll add a little bit of a bio here, for our site. And so let's go ahead and add that here. We're just going to add an H3, so a heading 3, and we're going to say something about Fubla, which is the name of what I have up there. If I'm not mistaken, I think I do. Let's take a look at this. Sorry, you guys. So Fubla, there you go. All right, so a little bit about Fubla. We're going to add this paragraph here. As always, view word wrap. All right, toggle soft wrap. Boom. So now we have our little description there with our paragraph in there. For our duplicate navigation, we have our navigation on the top. Again, if you look at the navigation, we have index, about, projects, right? And then we have contact, right? So let's go ahead and add those there. So again, a navigation is nothing more than a list of actual links. So let's go ahead and add these. And then since it's going to be 4 or 5 of them, let's take a look at this. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4. And the first one is going to be index, which I think we called it home. So it will be index.html. The second one is going to be about.html. So I guess here about. And then on the next one, we're going to have projects, lowercase, projects.html, projects. And then the last one is contact.html, contact. All right, and let's take a look and see if they look about the same. So yeah, index, about, projects, contact.html. We're gonna add also these titles right here, so we can keep them very consistent with each other. Title, boom. Copy and pasting is the best thing ever. Projects and then contact. If we save this and we go to the site and refresh, this already by itself is looking like a footer without having to do much with it. That's the beauty of being able to create a grid system that you can then implement over and over and over in your site. It makes creating and laying out content so much easier. So that's really great. Let's go ahead and here on our M3, just to keep things consistent, let's go ahead and say something like menu or navigation. I think navigation is a little more descriptive than menu. So you have our navigation, and then here we have contact information. Since we've been doing this, let's go ahead and create an H3 for this one. Perfect. And then here, let's go ahead and look at this. Google and go White House address. All right, this is the address for the White House. Boom. So here we can actually use a special tag in HTML called address. And then here we can start typing in this information, create a line break. This code right here, which is the open bracket, curly, less than sign, BR space / greater than sign. That's a line break. You could also see it like this, which it only has the BR in it. This is a line break in your text. So if you want to break something, go into the next line. That's how you will do it. So you have both ways. You can do it BR space / or you can just do BR just like this. So if we go back to the side, and you can see that how it looks like. See, it breaks into the next line right there. All right, so we have that. And then let's see. Oh, they have a phone number for the White House. So let's go ahead and add that here. So let's go ahead and do a ref tell and then the phone number. This is really interesting because when you have this phone number like this, when you add it into an anchor tag, if somebody's using their machine and they have something installed where they can make phone calls out of their computer, they should be able to click on that and be able to make a phone call. Usually smart mobile devices or smart devices or smartphones should be able to pick up a phone number and let you just click on it and dial out. But here we're just kind of helping it out a little bit more. So let's go ahead and do title, phone number, right? Phone number. And then let's go ahead and paste that there. Perfect. And is there an email address that they have? No, not email address. So let's go ahead and now add something else in here. Let's go ahead and do something like, for example, UL with a class or social media. And then we're going to create a list of all the different social medias that the White House has. Again, these are pretend. I'm not going to go to each one of them to figure out what social media they have. We're just going to make it up. All right, so we're going to go here into Font Awesome that we used in the past, and we're going to look for something like Facebook. And then when we look in there, we should be able to have the Facebook icon. We can click on it, copy it, paste it. Let's go ahead and go and search for Twitter. And then we're going to click on it. See if I'm kind of picking out the same kind of styles without the rectangle around them if they have them available. So I'm trying to do that. Let's think about LinkedIn maybe. So we have LinkedIn here. Again, we click on it. We paste it. And the last one we're going to do is going to be YouTube. Click on it. Click over here and paste it. If you don't know how to use Font Awesome, please go back to my video. I believe we incorporated it when we did the navigation. So take a look at the navigation video and you should be able to see how I implemented or downloaded Font Awesome, installed it on this project, and then I'm showing you how to use it by kind of searching through the icon and clicking on the tag itself, and that will copy that HTML into your Command C shortcut. So here, for example, be something like HTTPS, Facebook, whatever it may mean, it may be. All you have to do is just go to the website and so like, for example, let's see if Font Awesome has a Facebook account or social media account. I don't think they do. Okay, here. So you see they have Font Awesome on Twitter. If you click on that, like for example, you can just copy and paste this into say the Twitter one, right? And then you'll see that you'll have that Twitter link. So that's the only one that is going to have it, because I am not going to look for the other one. But you should, of course, if you have all of these, then you should add it. If you have other social media, I don't know, like Twitch or whatever it may be, you can add it as well. And this is a very simple way to kind of get that going. If we go back now to our browser and to our project, we refresh. Now we have our contact information, which is our address, phone number, and then we have our social media. And if you click on it, it takes you there. Now, I personally don't like when you click on something that takes me outside of the site to open it in the same browser or in the same tab. So what I am going to do is I am going to go over here and we're going to add the target blank attribute here. What this does is that if you click on something and it opens on a new, if you wanted to open in a new tab, then you would add it as target equals quote underscore blank, and that will let whatever anchor tag or whatever link that you have this on to be able to open in a new tab. Okay, so let's go ahead and go over here, refresh, and now if we click again on Twitter, it would open up on the Twitter profile here. All right, perfect. Now let's go back over here and we're going to do the same thing with the phone number. And then, of course, our phone number, because it is a tag, we should make it, because it's an anchor tag, we should add it inside of a paragraph. And let's go ahead and add another paragraph. And now we're going to add an email address. Notice that there's this right here. The phone number is very special because it uses kind of this definition of TEL to let the browser know, okay, this is a telephone number. Look at this. If we create one for email, so what you need to do here is do this definition of mail to, and then username at domain.com, title, webmaster's email, and then target blank. And then here, so username at domain.com. Okay. What's happening here is that we're setting up this definition of mail to. This mail to will let the browser know that whatever comes after this colon right here is going to have is going to be an email address. Again, we have the username, the @ domain.com. We're using the title so that they know who this email is going to. And then we're also using target blank. The reason why we're using target blank is because most people now have some sort of email address that is not connected to, say, Outlook. So if you use target without the target blank and you click on an email, it might open up your email address on that same browser tab. So you actually wanted to make sure that it actually doesn't do that, and it opens in a new tab, so avoiding having your user move out of your site, right? So now we have all of this information. If we want it to be fancy, right, we have the White House address. Here we can actually go into Google Maps, for example. You can click on that if you have a physical address for the location that you're building the site for. And then you can go into share. And if you do share, you can copy this link here. See, for the White House. And then here we can actually go over here to the address and do the same thing. So a ref, and we paste that address, target blank. And then we're going to do title, Google Maps, right? And then we can paste this over. See that? So we have this. And if we go back to the browser now, go over here to the side and refresh. Now we have a whole lot of links over here on the right-hand side with all the contact information. If we click on the address, again, it takes you to the Google Maps, and then you will be able to kind of look at the map and be able to navigate to there. If you go phone number, I'm not sure what's going to happen, so I'm not going to click it, but you can try it on your own. Here, if I click on email, it will try to open my email address here. Which I'm not going to do. And we already looked at these definitions on the bottom right here. Okay. So then let's go ahead and add something else to our template. So in our template, we had this call 3, right? And we use this row right here. Let's go ahead and add a new row. Div class row and div class, I'm going to do call MD12 because I want it to be full width all the time. I could have done also like extra small 12. And then here we're just going to add a paragraph. And here we're going to say copyright and then ampersand. I believe is copy, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, that's for the copyright sign. This ampersand, copy, and then the semicolon. If you want to do the all rights reserved, I'll show you in a little bit. So copyright 2020, all rights reserved. Then, for example, here we ampersand, ranch, and then let's go ahead and do 1992 when I started coding to 2020, because why not? All right. So here, if I refresh this, now I have all these kind of legal verbiage that you have in the bottom. If you want to understand more about what copyright is and all rights reserved is, and how does that legally protect some of the content in your site, then feel free to do a little more research. That's outside the scope of these videos and tutorials. I would suggest if you are going to implement something like this, that you look and take a look at, for example, creating a privacy policy or terms and conditions page, which again is outside of the realm of this video, but it's something that I would highly encourage you to look at. And as a web designer, it'll be a good idea for you to know what are your legal stands in regards of content and what you're disseminating on your site and what you're allowing users to actually use, right? So in this bottom section, we're going to say class row, right? But we're also going to say something like legal. We're adding a class modifier of legal. And in the one above it, the one that has all this other information, right? We're just going to say row, and we're going to give it a class of main footer, okay? So now we have these two different styles, which again, if we go to the site, nothing happens because we haven't added any styles here. All right, so now let's take a look at the site and let's go ahead and add some styles to this area. Because it is the footer, I am going to add it all the way to the bottom. And as always, I'm going to go ahead and create a comment section here. Footer of site, or just call it footer, and of footer. And here we're going to add different styles. Again, if you look at here, I'm only using the word footer here because when you look at the template, I'm using an element called footer. If I wanted to select a class of main footer, right, then I would do something like footer space main footer with a period in front of the word main, right? Because that period again talks about classes, right? This is a class of main footer inside of the footer of the site. And then I also have another one which is going to be footer, and then I think I called it legal. And if we look down here, right? Yeah, legal. Perfect. So, and you'll see why we're adding these styles here. Let's go ahead and make the footer a little more accessible to us. And let's take a look at the color scheme. So we have this dark blue here. Let's go ahead and go with a dark color in the bottom. So our footer, our background color is going to be something like 444, 444. And we're going to refresh. Okay, that looks about right. Right? And then we have footer, main footer. One of the things that you'll notice is that this is kind of very shoved against the top. So we need a little more spacing. And we also need a little bit of separation between the footer and the actual contents. So in order to do that, we're going to use margin top, margin top, and we're going to add 2 rem for separation between the footer and the main content. And then padding, again, we're going to do 1 rem 0. If you don't know what this does, I would suggest you going back to some of my videos and kind of looking at, I think it was one of the first 3 videos. I talked about what each one of these numbers are. And hopefully, if you've been following with me while you're creating this and actually following and creating the nodes, then you should be able to see that all the way up here. If you notice on the body, we had this content and then this comment, and we added all of this right here. This should help you kind of refresh your memory about what each one of these things does. So again, I'll leave that to you guys to refresh on that. And so now we have a little more spacing. You'll see that happened there. All right. Now we need a little bit of separation between this bottom footer and this top footer. So let's go ahead and make that change. So our footer legal, let's go ahead and change that background color. And then say it's like a 222. All right, and now that looks a little bit better. Now there's a little bit of separation between the top and the bottom. And let's go ahead and our footer, this has the same size as the main content up here. I personally like the footer to kind of be a little bit smaller in regards of the content itself than the main content area, because again, footer should take second as far as level of importance or hierarchy. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's go ahead and change that that font size. And let's do something like 0.9 9 rem. We refresh, and because all of our fonts are responsive, then you see that they became a little bit smaller. I think that that's a good size. Let's go ahead and change our color to white, or FFF. And if we refresh, now all of our colors are white as far as our type goes here. All right, and let's take a look at this. We have a gap down here. I'm not sure where that's coming from. So let's take a look at it and let's see where it actually is coming from. So if we look at the footer, no. Okay, is our footer container fluid. That one has a margin bottom of 1.618 rem. So let's go ahead and nuke that there. So we're going to do footer, container fluid, margin bottom 0. If we refresh this, perfect. Now this is flush to the bottom. We no longer have that white stripe underneath it. And let's go ahead in our legal. It looks a little off just to the side on the left. Let's go ahead and center this. We're going to add to our legal. We're going to say something along the lines of text align center. And that would align that text down there. Perfect. All right. So let's continue with this. We're going to go to about the sites. Okay, so everything else looks good. We can change even the headers over here on the footer of the site. Let's change those to white as well, and let's reduce the spacing from the top to the bottom. So let's go ahead and do footer. We have that main footer, and let's go ahead and do footer, main footer, H3s, because that, I believe that's what we use. Yeah, H3s. And let's do margin bottom, then 1.618 rem, color FFF. Okay, is it margin or would it be padding? Let's take a look in here. Okay, let's take a look at this. All right, so inspect. When in doubt, inspect it out. Okay. So it's not that, it's actually the paragraph that has something above it. And I believe it's something that came directly from the browser itself. It's not something that we added ourselves. So let's take a look over here. That's the same thing that's happening over there on the other navigation. All right, so we're going to nuke this out, and that color doesn't look quite nice. So let's take a look up here. In one of our next videos, we're going to actually create a color palette for our site. And then we're going to create other styles to kind of improve the look and feel on our site as well. So let's go ahead and inspect element, because I like that lighter orange there, which is this color, the E56B00. And then let's go over here and let's change that to that color. Make sure we don't have extra pound signs here. And then let's do footer, main footer, paragraph, and footer, main footer, UL, margin 0, just so we can zero out the margins in the site. Okay, see, that's a little bit tighter. I like the way that looks. See, margin 0. Sorry, you guys, for some reason my code jumped up. So you see that margin 0, that removes some of the spacing. That's the color that we have down here for now our headings as well. So now let's take a look at some of these anchor tags. Now our anchor tags, let's go ahead and add some styles for them. So let's go footer, main footer, a link. When we did typography, we talked about anchor tags and each one of these pseudo selectors as well. So if you have a question, go ahead and make sure that you go through this and kind of, go through some of those videos and revisit this. So we're changing the color to white for our anchor tags. So now they should all be white. That looks a little bit better. And now we have these are white. Okay, this is white, and I want them to be underlined. I think that would be very nice. Let's go ahead and now fix our address. Our address is cool that we're using the address tag because it's important to kind of keep our content semantically correct. In other words, we want to keep our content, use the proper tags for the proper use. So that's fine, but most browsers make the actual content itself italicized. In when it comes down to using the address tag, I personally don't like it, so I am going to get rid of that italicized here and also the underline on this. Even though it's a link, I don't necessarily want to promote it that way on our footer of the site. So we're going to type in footer, main footer, address, and here let me see because I forget, is it font style? I believe it is font style, and then normal. Let's take a look at that. Yes. All right. And text decoration, none. Is it text decoration? It's not none because you have underline. Oh, sorry. I know what's happening. It is none. So let's talk about font style. Font style, if you want some chunk of text to be italicized, you can do that. You can use normal, italic, oblique as well. And again, this affects the fonts and the font style for whatever you're selecting. Now we were trying to do text decoration none to remove the underline, but guess what? We're doing it on the address. We're doing it on the address tag. We're not doing it on the anchor tag. So we need to select the anchor tag. So let's go ahead and do footer, main footer, address, anchor tag, link. And again, we're going to do the same thing over here. Active, hover, visited. And then do text decoration, none. All right, now if we refresh this, now you see that the text decoration is gone from our address. Take a look at that. So we're using footer, main footer, address, and then our anchor tag declarations, and we're using none. Now, if we wanted to, we can get rid of this hover one and refresh. And if we hover over this, then we can actually, let's bring that back. Copy this and then do something like text decoration underline, right? So now when we hover over this, then it would actually underline for us, see? Now the other ones, I do want them to remain underlined just because it's easier for them to see, right? So we have this, they can click on the telephone and again, phone number, and webmaster's email address. Again, now we have these social media icons in the bottom. Take a look at something that we can actually use. We have this class of inline that moves all the different elements and puts them in a row, right? So let's see what happens when we do that here as well. So let's go ahead and social media, inline, and then boom, we have our social media all in a single line. displaying what we have, made the footer narrower as well, right? And now we have the content in one of these areas. So I think this is looking really, really, really good. I think it's looking very clean for our footer, and it didn't really take us very long to create this footer here. So now that we've created this footer, the next video that we're going to do, we're going to actually create some styles for buttons that we'll be able to use on our site.